So I went 7 days on extreme sleep deprivation. I was getting around 2 hours of sleep per night for 7 days. Now, that wasn't exact. There was one night where I only slept for about 20 minutes, and there was one day where I slept for maybe 3.5 hours. But the rest of the nights, it was pretty much around 2 hours a night. This isn't something I planned on doing, but since it happened, I was very interested and started doing a little bit of research and thought I would make a video on my findings and also talk about what happened to me during 7 days of extreme sleep deprivation. First of all, I tried doing an experiment like this on myself for a YouTube video earlier last year, and I gave up. I didn't have enough willpower. I quit a few days in. I was just too tired. But this time, I was so sleep deprived for a reason, not just making a dumb YouTube video. It's because my son was born. And when people have a baby, people joke and say, oh, you're not gonna get any sleep for a while, and turns out they're right. Now, I was doing some research after the fact and learned that sleep experts say that the worst place to be if you are in dire need of sleep is in a hospital. And they're right. I thought this was a little bit strange how hard it is to get sleep in a hospital. Because when you have a baby, you're there for a couple days afterwards, recover, so the mother can recover, not me. But we were there for about 3 days, and the first 2 days, I think I only slept 20 minutes. They check on you literally every hour, and that makes it hard to sleep. And then second of all, there's a baby. I just had a baby, and so if I would start to doze off, I'd start to fall asleep, and then I'd be like, oh my gosh, where's the baby? And so I was a little bit paranoid, but that also may have been because the first 2 days I got almost no sleep at all. And so I was more paranoid than usual, which I'm not normally super like that. I'm pretty not worried about most things most of the time. So that was definitely a side effect as I was getting paranoid. But also it was probably just the fact of being a new parent and I wasn't used to that. So that happened quite often where I would start to doze off and then wake myself up and have to like check on the baby. Or if it wasn't my turn to watch the baby, if we were taking turns, I would wake up and be like, oh no, I fell asleep. Am I watching the baby? Oh, you're watching the baby? Oh, I thought I was supposed to watch the baby. I forgot. And so then it would be like, just really hard to get any sleep. So once we left the hospital, then we were kind of able to take turns. The baby wouldn't sleep at night. We wanted to be held all the time. We'd set him down. If he was in a deep sleep, sometimes he'd sleep for 20 or 30 minutes. Perfect time for a power nap. And then he'd wake up and be like, hey, why aren't you holding me? Somebody pick me up. So we ended up having to take shifts, but it took us a few days to figure that out. So the whole first week was just extreme sleep deprivation. At one point, she was gonna feed the baby and I said, all right, I'm gonna lay down for like 20 minutes while you feed the baby, and then I'll take him back so that you can rest. Wake me up in 20 minutes. And she couldn't wake me up in 20 minutes. I was sleeping so hard that she couldn't wake me up. It took her about 20 minutes. So I slept for 40 minutes. When I did wake up, I felt so rested. It felt like I had slept a full 8 hours. I was totally rejuvenated. I was ready to go and I felt good for several hours. It was probably about 4 or 5 hours before I even started feeling tired at all. And that is so weird, but that actually happens to people, for example, extreme marathoners, people who run these extreme marathons. It's like over 100 miles. It's like running 4 marathons. It takes days to do, and some of them just basically go without sleep, or they'll sleep for a couple minutes over a period of 3 days. And so what they say is when they do sleep, even just for a couple of minutes, they feel extremely rested, even though they've only slept for a couple minutes. That's because your body realizes that you're sleep deprived and knows what you need, and so when you do fall asleep, you're getting your money's worth, so to speak, and it's it's more potent sleep. That's not a real phrase, but that's just the way I would explain what I felt. It was so weird. Another thing that was happening to me is I was taking micro naps, sometimes involuntarily. If I was up moving around and stuff, it was a lot easier to stay awake, but if I sat down, I may fall asleep even just for a minute or two, and it would be extremely restful, but it was like you just can't fight it. You get so exhausted that you just fall asleep. There was one time where I almost fell asleep standing up, and I was like, wow, I need to sit down because I just kind of dozed off standing here. And that was scary, but that's what happens. Your body will shut you down if you go too long without sleep because you need sleep, and that's just the way it is. Something that I did for those 7 days is I avoided all stimulants. I had a little bit of caffeine, I think once, because we were going to a doctor's appointment. But other than that, I avoided all caffeine. I didn't do any caffeine or alcohol or weed or anything like Tylenol PM or NyQuil. I stayed away from all of that because I didn't want it to mess up my sleeping. If the baby was gonna sleep, then that meant I could maybe sleep for a few minutes if he would lay in his bassinet long enough, which usually he didn't. But if the opportunity came, I didn't want to have any caffeine in my system because I want to take advantage and get my 20-minute nap if I could, because that's mostly what I got for the entire week. Mostly it was 20 to 30-minute naps for a week straight. I was just taking multiple ones whenever I could fit one in. It was really crazy, and I was honestly surprised by the end of the week that the human body can endure something like that for such a long time. I've been sleep deprived before and done crazy stuff, but usually it's not that extreme for that many days in a row. Another side effect that I was definitely experiencing was grumpiness. I was very irritable sometimes, and that's because your medial prefrontal cortex is in charge of determining your appropriate social emotional responses to situations. And it's also in charge of your amygdala, sort of. I'm kind of like using my own words here, but as far as I understand it, that's how it works. And your amygdala is what is in charge of the fight or flight response. Now, when you get sleep deprived, those things kind of get out of sync, and you start relying on your amygdala more for situations to determine what emotional response you should have. And the amygdala is basically fight or flight. So you're confronted with a situation and you are emotionally interpreting it as a fight or flight situation, even if it's not. And you think, your brain is thinking, this is totally an appropriate way to handle the situation, when it's not. It's not an appropriate way socially to handle the situation, but you think it is in the moment because you're so sleep deprived. And I've experienced that before. I think everyone has. You have a hard time dealing with things in life. You're just like, I can't deal with it. You get worked up very easily. You get offended easily, and that's why. And I noticed even after just a 20-minute nap, I wasn't that way. I felt so much better even after a short nap. But if I had gone for hours and hours and hours without any sleep whatsoever, I was getting more and more irritable as time went on. And so it was really important for me to get even a short nap. Oh, another thing, my eyes droopy a lot. My eye gets droopy when I'm tired. It's not really a big deal, it just happens, but it's been extreme. I mean, I had sleep this morning, so it's not that bad right now. I'm starting to feel better, but during the 7 days, it was like my eye was like practically closed sometimes because I was so tired. And sometimes I had trouble keeping both my eyes open because it was just like, ugh, I have to put cold water on my face just to be like, wake up, dude. It's been almost 3 weeks since that, and the first 2 weeks were extreme sleep deprivation. It was hard to fall asleep and stay asleep. It seemed like even if we were taking shifts, that's what we ended up doing, is I'll watch them for a couple hours while you sleep, then you watch them for a couple hours while I sleep. Even when that was happening, it was hard to like let that go and be like, okay, I don't have to worry about the baby for a couple hours. I can just sleep. It was really hard to let that go. And that took some time and it took some getting used to, but now I'm getting used to it. But I still have trouble staying asleep. After 2 or 3 hours, I just wake up and I'm not tired anymore and I can't go back to sleep, and I don't know why. So I'm sort of on this weird polyphasic sleep cycle now, which wasn't my intention, but after almost 3 weeks, that's what it's turned into. Polyphasic sleep is something that supposedly was done by a lot of creative people such as Nikola Tesla and some others, where you sleep very little. In a 24-hour period, you will sleep only 2 to 4 hours, but it's broken up between several naps throughout the day. And I've known about this, I've wanted to try it. That's what I tried doing actually for a YouTube video before. Tried putting myself in a polyphasic sleep schedule, and I didn't have the willpower to keep up with it because it's really hard to break into initially. So this time I had a reason to be that sleep deprived because I had a baby, and so I kind of learned how to take naps. That was the problem before when I tried to get into polyphasic sleep, is I can't really take naps. I have a really hard time taking them. Usually when I fall asleep for a few hours, I'm up for the day. And that's just it. But now I'm able to take naps. I take 2 or 3 a day, and then I'll sleep for 2 or 3 hours, maybe. And I'm feeling way, way better. Like I said, this wasn't my intention. That's just kind of how it is. And now I'm starting to feel better, and I'm thinking maybe I should try to see if I can keep this up, like stay on a polyphasic sleep pattern. I haven't tried to. I actually have tried sleeping like a full 8 hours. I've slept one night in the last 3 weeks. I've slept 8 hours. Other than that, it's been mostly 2 to 4 hour sleep times. There was maybe a couple days where I slept a little bit more than 4 hours, and I'm getting used to it, which is crazy. But there's also this idea of sleep debt, where you rack up sleep debt when you're sleep deprived and you have to pay it off somehow. And that could be getting an extra hour of sleep every night for a while, or it could be like sleeping 12 hours on a Saturday, and that's how you kind of pay off your sleep debt. That's a thing too, but I don't really know how it fits into the whole polyphasic sleep thing. I'm kind of interested to find out. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Up until this point, really yesterday, I just decided, yeah, I'm gonna stay on this sleep schedule. I'm starting to feel good. Like I'm feeling better and improved and more awake and alert. So I guess I'll keep this up for a few days and see how it goes. But up until this point, I had been trying to sleep 8 hours. I just was physically unable to, but now it's kind of working out. I'm not doing really caffeine much, anything like that to make me stay awake or fall asleep, and I'm fine with it. One thing I will say about sleep deprivation is that your brain processes things while you sleep. So if you study for an exam the night before and then sleep, you're gonna remember a lot more of it that way, as opposed to pulling an all-nighter and cramming. That is not an effective way to study. Getting sleep before an exam is the best thing you can do. Study if you can, but you need to have sleep. Your brain's gonna remember more. You're gonna work better. You're gonna think faster. You have a lot less issues during the test or the big day at work or whatever it is that you have to face the next day. Get good sleep. It's very important. But I think everybody knows that. But I'm not like setting an alarm though. I'm not like, okay, I can only sleep for 2 hours and then I have to get up. It's like, no, I just wake up after 2 or 3 or maybe 4 hours, and that's just what I've become used to in the last 3 weeks, which is so weird. Even just a short sleep like that makes me feel way better. Yeah, I'll make a follow-up video at some point if I keep going with it. If I just go back to sleeping like 7-8 hours a night, I'm not gonna make a follow-up video on that. But if I keep up with the polyphasic sleep where I'm only getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night and I'm fine and I'm functioning great, then yeah, I'll definitely make a follow-up video on that. Another thing I've noticed on this lack of sleep schedule that I've been on, not just the first 7 days, but the whole 3 weeks, is that the days kind of start to blur together. I kind of don't remember, was that yesterday or was that today or was that 2 days ago? Because I sleep periodically throughout the day, 2 or 3 or 4 naps a day, and that makes it kind of difficult to realize what day of the week it is or time frames of things, which was always kind of a thing for me anyway, because I just work at home for myself, and so it's like, it doesn't really matter what day of the week it is anyway, but I've been especially lost on what day it is with all of this going on now. I also found that I was just eating just to stay awake in the beginning. I needed food, and if I ate food, then I felt better and I felt more awake. And actually, some of the times I was like, okay, I'm gonna eat and then I'm gonna take a nap. I have time to sleep. And so I would eat, and then I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. It's like if I wouldn't have ate, I would have just went right to sleep. But since I ate, that gave me energy and then I was awake, which is so weird because I didn't used to be like that. I used to not be able to fall asleep if I was hungry. I would eat, I could go to bed on a full stomach, and that's when I slept best, which who knows? People say you're not supposed to do that, but other people say that it's fine. And I just know it worked for my body, and that's how I slept the most sound and I felt the most refreshed when I'd wake up. It's not like bloated and full, but just not being too hungry. It was really hard for me to fall asleep when I was too hungry. Now, it doesn't matter. When I'm ready to sleep, I'm ready to sleep. It doesn't matter. Even if I'm standing, sitting, lying down on the floor, I can fall asleep when I'm ready to. But I can't just do it on command though. Sometimes I'll try to lay down and take a nap and I just can't. But when it hits me, I'm out. And I may only be out for 20 or 30 minutes, but those 20-30 minutes are so crucial because I am just dragging. I can't function when it's time to take that nap. And so I could definitely see how that would be a big con for being on polyphasic sleep, because when it's nap time, you gotta take a nap. You just gotta, you know, and there's no way around it. And that's been my experience, but it doesn't really matter to me. That doesn't affect my life much because nothing I do is on a tight time schedule except for taking care of the baby. But other than that, I don't have a 9-to-5 job, you know, so my time is extremely flexible. So it's kind of perfect for me to morph into this polyphasic sleep thing and try it out for a little. I'm not saying I'm going to do it forever or that I even want to do it forever, but I want to give it a fair shot. And the hardest part is the first week or couple weeks breaking into it, and I feel like I am broke into it now. I have the habits down of polyphasic sleep where when I'm tired, I can lay down and sleep for 20 minutes and wake up and feel amazing. And that's the key right there. It doesn't last all day though. It only lasts a couple hours or sometimes less, and then I'll need to take another nap. But I'm fine with that. And that's another reason why I'm not doing caffeine, or at least not excessive amounts. I think I've maybe had caffeine 2 or 3 times in the last 3 weeks, because when it's time to sleep, I want that sleep. I don't want to have stimulants in my body keeping me awake when I should be sleeping. So that's been good too, because the form of caffeine that I usually take is not the best. It's like an energy drink or sometimes soda. Tea is fine. I'll drink tea sometimes, but it's like I don't need to be drinking like sodas and energy drinks anyway. So it's probably good that I'm omitting the caffeine, and I didn't really get headaches from going off of it either, because I used to rely pretty heavily on it, which was surprising. Yeah, so I'm really glad to be off of any type of caffeine or stimulant or anything. I'm able to wake up and be awake and fall asleep just fine without anything, any type of upper or downer whatsoever, which I didn't really rely on before anyways. But to go to sleep, it'd be nice to have a drink or hit the vape pen or something like that, just to wind down and go to sleep. And now I don't need that anymore. I don't rely on it. This feels like a more natural way to be. But anyways, I think that's about all I have to say in this video. Leave a comment, let me know if you've ever done polyphasic sleep, or if you've ever been extremely sleep deprived. Even just 4, 5, or 6 hours of sleep for an extended period of time is considered sleep deprivation. There's studies on that, and people's cognitive abilities plummet, and they build up a sleep debt just on even 6 hours of sleep a night over periods of time, which is kind of what I used to get anyway. I rarely sleep 8 hours in a night. But everyone's a little bit different. But let me know what your sleep deprivation stories are, and if you're doing any crazy sleep patterns currently, or maybe just your life is crazy and you're very sleep deprived, which I've been there too before. If you have 2 jobs or anything like that, I know what that's like. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.